Well, I think we owe it to one another to keep our sense of humor and our sense of balance and all this. And I have to tell you that I am extremely pleased to be here. Last night I was in Columbia, that fancy school. Before that I was at St. Louis University and Cape Girardeau and places like that. And I am just delighted to be before an audience that looks like America, that looks representative of the people here in this great country. And so I thank you most sincerely for inviting me here. And I just, really, I hope that I can shed some light on what's been going on based on the experience that I've had. When people asked me about the 9/11 Commission when it was first set up, I said, it's crazy. I said, what do you mean it's crazy? These are very distinguished people. I said, look, they all look just like me. They all look just like one token woman, but everybody else looks just like me. And every one of them is either a lawyer or a politician, and some of them are both. Now, I was going to say I don't have anything against lawyers and politicians, but that wouldn't be quite honest. But even so, to suggest that that group was representative of the American people, and still less representative of the people who were killed in 9/11, is an atrocious travesty of justice. And I won't go into that anymore unless you want to pursue that in questions, but I would just have to say in passing that the 9/11 Commission was part of the cover-up. And the question is, what's being covered up? As far as I'm able to go right now, gross malfeasance, gross negligence, that's the charitable explanation to what happened. I can't go any further right now given my lack of time to go through the evidence, but there are a lot of people that I really admire who go quite a bit further and suggest that there was even some foreknowledge on the part of some of our highest officials. Now, people ask me, why I don't subscribe to that, given all the evidence. And by the way, the best books written on this are books by David Ray Griffin, a retired professor of theology from Claremont Theology University in California. And they asked me, why I can't go there. And I simply say, well, I'm an intelligence analyst, okay? And I can watch the Vice President of the United States openly advocate for torture, for eavesdropping on our conversations without warrant, and I can form my opinions about what kind of person that is, but as an intelligence analyst, I can't let that kind of emotional response affect how I look at what he might have known about 9/11. And so, again, as a professional intelligence analyst, I have to be real careful of doing the kinds of things I accuse others of cherry-picking evidence. Because as many theories as have arisen about what really happened, each one seems to raise two new questions for me. And so I just have to piece through that and be honest. I guess what I would say, and this is the bottom line as far as I'm concerned, that the way the administration of this country exploited the very real trauma, we all saw the buildings come down, the very real trauma that we all suffered on 9/11, to start a war against a country that had nothing to do with 9/11. That's enough for me. 2,729 young men and women are dead now, Americans, because of that, and tens of thousands of Iraqis. And last time I checked in the Bible, Iraqis are people too. And so we have to be aware of this kind of thing and just kind of put it into context that that's happened. And the supreme irony here is that Senator Pat Roberts, who I understand hangs out around here sometimes, head of the Senate Intelligence Committee, after fiercely rejecting an objective assessment of whether there were any ties between Iraq and the people who did their deed on 9/11, after 2.5 years of intense study by his staff, 4 weeks ago he came out with an official report saying there were no ties, there was no evidence For those of you who have been led to believe that Saddam Hussein had something to do with 9/11, forget it. It was never true. How was it that 69% of the American people believed it to be true? Well, let me just say that the biggest sea change that I've seen in my watching things in Washington for the last 43 years is the fact we no longer have, in any real sense, a free and independent media. If you think you can find out what's going on by listening to Fox News, you are sorely misled. That's the bad news. Now, the good news is that you have the web, folks. You got the internet. Man, what an incredible tool that is. You got Google. You can find out anything you want on that thing. And when I compare my ability to write an op-ed like overnight with what I had to do in dredging through my piles of paper and that kind of thing, this is really an incredible tool, and I dare say that we come up a little bit short on imagination as to how to use that tool more effectively, because it's really a battle between a government-controlled, corporate-controlled media, most of which corporations are making a hell of a lot of money on this war, by the way, folks, and those of us that want the truth.